Hi garden buddies, welcome to Vlogmas day number 20. And today I have a friend with me and we're going to talk about a very interesting tropical plant with big dreams and whether or not we can make it work in our zone number 7B. Okay, so Justin, welcome. This is my friend Justin joining me today, and he is wanting to plant something called Soursop. I'm gonna admit that I don't know anything, or I didn't know anything about this plant before Justin told me about it, and so I had to do all the research. Tell me about why you're interested in Soursop. What is it that you like about it?
I'll try to be brief, but I am very much into plant-based medicine and plant-based healing. And Soursop is something that has been proven in eliminating cancer in people who have cancer. Soursop leaves. And I would like to grow Soursop to have the leaves for myself to take it as a preventative measure, and then also hopefully to have a surplus that I can give to people who are in need of it.
So guys, here's the deal. Soursop sounds absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us, Justin. Can it grow in our zone 7B? That's my question. And that's what we're going to figure out. So here's a little bit about Soursop as I was doing my research. It is from the custard apple family. Raise your hand if you were today's old when you found out that there was such a thing as a custard apple family, right? Like what? So it is from the custard apple family, and it thrives in a warm and humid climate, zones 9 through 11. Now I did mention that we're in zone 7B, so might be a little difficult to grow it here, but it's not impossible. And I think one of the key things that Justin said that makes it a possibility for him is that he's not interested in the fruit. If you're looking at the Soursop on the screen as I'm showing it to you, Soursop can get anywhere from 15 to 30 feet high. And it takes about 3 years from the time that you plant it for it to actually develop the fruit that you can eat.
Wow.
That makes it a little difficult in our seed planting thing today, but not impossible. So it does take about 4 weeks to germinate. And so we're gonna give it a little bit of a try, but also let's talk about some other plants that might be an option for Justin if he wants to grow them here in 7B, right? One of them is mullein. Mullein is a biennial and it grows in our zone 7B. It thrives and it's good for respiratory issues and actually an expectorant. So I actually used mullein earlier this year because, I don't know, I think everybody was getting some, what is it called? Respiratory, RSV? Respiratory something, not
the COVID, but the other thing.
Not right. But it wasn't the flu. I went to the hospital twice. It wasn't the flu. I couldn't catch my breath. It just felt hard to breathe. Someone brought me some mullein and I made some tea from it and it literally cleared it up for me. Oh, wow. Yes, shout out to holistic medicine. So I think Justin is on the right track. So mullein is one of the things you can grow here. Peppermint, which you're also probably aware of. It helps with digestive issues. Lemon balm, which most people make a tea from it. I make a tea from it, so that's what I did with my lemon balm leaves. It's actually good for you. It helps in terms of an anti-inflammatory as well. As calendula grows here. Also, I believe it helps with sleep and anxiety. There was one more, elderberry. So I actually do have an elderberry in my yard, but one of the ornamentals. But elderberry is also very good for you, and I know a lot of people might take it for colds. The last one I would mention to you is echinacea. So everybody knows that echinacea is really helpful. Did you also know you can grow it here in this area? I actually have some growing in my backyard. Echinacea purpurea, or people call it coneflower. And
You said elderberry. I was thinking echinacea. So now I got to go back and think what elderberry is for. Because echinacea, that's the one that's for general sicknesses, right?
Right.
Like colds and stuff. So what is elderberry used for medicinally? While you're answering that, I have a separate question.
Okay.
You might be able to answer. So this soursop, you're saying can get up to 30 feet. So would this be considered a tree or is it still a plant?
It is a tree.
So it will have.
Well, trees are plants.
That's true. But will it have bark? Is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a pretty big. It's a soursop tree.
But it's a slow grower, and specifically for the uses you're looking for, it may work for you.
Okay. Definitely want to give it a shot.
And I'm going back to elderberry. It boosts the immune system, alleviates cold and flu symptoms, and has anti-inflammatory problems. And specifically back to the echinacea, also an immune booster that helps fight colds and infections.
So they do the same thing.
Yep.
Okay.
They're awesome, but they do look very different. Elderberry has like lace-like leaves. The black elderberry I have in my backyard, obviously it's not giving us the berries that we're looking for that you can then make the specialized whatever you're going to make for it, a tincture or a tea or whatever. The Echinacea purpurea, it's actually the roots you want more than the cones.
Okay.
But yeah, in my backyard, and you can easily dig it up and use it as you need it.
Pretty cool.
I know, right? So what we're going to do is make a little potting soil for your soursop seeds. Now tell me about these soursop seeds and where you got them from.
Well, I got them from a really special place called Amazon. They have a
Amazon. Listen, no, they know I'm an Amazon girly. I do Amazon.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
so we're going to include the link to these soursop seeds in case anybody wants to get them.
Awesome. And I would just say, if you're going to order the soursop seeds, give yourself some time because they were supposed to come in about 3 to 4 days, but apparently they got lost in the mail. And then I was given a link to reorder them. Which, you know, I was not going to do without getting my money back. And then one day they just showed up. You know, I was talking about them and they just.
So do we sure that these could be anything then? How you know it's soursop?
Well, they have a picture on it. It says soursop. Technically speaking, these could just be really small almonds. But I think if I plant this and it doesn't produce a plant that sort of looks like this, then we'll know we've been had.
That's true. So let's take a look at your soursop seeds.
Sure. 6 in total, but I'm going to give you 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
I think we can work with that, and we got more if we need them.
Oh.
That one's done. Oh.
Okay, so these are the 2 seeds that Justin gave me. And if you can see the seed, there's like a kind of an opening here. So right in this area, that's where the root's going to come out. So the good thing to do before you try to plant these seeds, we're only going to plant 1 today, but the good thing to do would be to soak them because they're hard casing, and so it will be a little bit easier for the seed to come out, for the root to come out. And so expect that to come out of here. So when you plant this, you're going to plant it this side down. That makes any sense? Hope it does. Okay, now I would like for us to look at, let's put
No problem.
one up.
So I've seen where people, I guess when they're starting with seeds, they will put them inside like a moist paper towel and sort of wait for them to kind of bud a little bit. Is that something that I would want to do with my other 5 seeds before I get them started? And what is the purpose of that? Is it just to make sure you got like a working seed before you actually go for it or putting in soil?
Not really, but what you're doing, so when people germinate, especially when you'll see people do that with very small seeds like tomatoes or basil or something like that to get the little the little root going. You don't necessarily have to do that.
Okay.
But what they're doing when you put the moist paper towel in a baggie and you put your seed in, you're creating a greenhouse. So you are creating a humid environment for this seed to thrive and get what it needs. And then it can spread a little and you're like, oh, look, the seed, there's a root there, I can plant it.
Got it.
And so you're gonna wanna up as it gets larger, because you should see your seed germinate in about a month. But again, like I said, it wouldn't be bad if you, because it's a hard seed, it wouldn't be bad if you soaked it overnight.
Okay.
And then it would be easier for the roots to come out.
When you say soak it, do I immerse it in water?
Yeah, you can just drop it in some water. Now, and when you drop it in water, if your seed floats, that seed is no good.
Yeah, the seed. All right. So it's supposed to sink.
It should sink to the bottom.
Okay. Now, when you say, because you use in terms I'm not familiar with, so when you say germinate, that means the roots are out?
Yes.
I have one shoot?
You might not have a shoot yet.
I might not have a shoot. That just means the roots.
Right. But you might have, like, it might start popping up. You won't have any true leaves, but that's when you're looking for germination. That's what you're looking for, that it's starting to grow. Okay. Right? So that's what we're hoping to get from our seed. Now, soursop is almost like, think about it almost like a citrus fruit. I'm going to put this down, and so I'm going to tell you what I'm using. So if anybody saw my Vlogmas day something or other, one of the single digit numbers, I repotted my lemon plant. What I didn't use was orchid bark, which you can. So what a lot of people use when they're planting up citrus is they call it a 511. But I use 2 times this orchid bark and some fast draining soil. So this is a cactus palm citrus potting mix. And I would also put a little bit of perlite, because it's not going to hurt nobody. Why not? And what we want is a very good draining mix, because it does not want to sit and soak. That's how you're going to get root rot. That's how your plant is not going to thrive.
Questions?
Answers, hopefully.
All right. Now, these are pretty self-explanatory. You said this is
orchid bark.
Orchid bark. So this is just bark from a tree, from an orchid specifically.
No, it's not bark from an orchid. So orchid bark, it's going to break down into a soil mix. Okay. But it's ultimately the orchid, the bark will break down over time. But orchid, again, does not want to be in a heavy soil. So a lot of the potting soils we use are heavy. They're going to hold on to moisture. Orchids do not want that. Okay. So that's why you want this more barky mixture. Okay. That the water easily runs right through.
Awesome. And this is just potting mix, so this is like soil.
So this is more of a soil. This is a cactus citrus palm potting mix. So you can see it does have some barky pieces in here.
And what are the little white things?
That's pieces of perlite.
Perlite. Now.
So this is so it runs through quickly. Perlite. This is actually perlite. So there's a little bit in here. I'm going to put a little more because we want it to be a very fast draining mixture. And this is organic.
Now, what is perlite? That was really what my question was.
I have no idea, but you know what? Google is your friend. Okay, Google, what's perlite?
According to Wikipedia, perlite is an amorphous volcanic glass that has a relatively high water content, typically formed by the hydration of obsidian. It occurs naturally and has the unusual property of greatly expanding when heated sufficiently.
So I guess that means it's like a rock, or like some type
piece of rock. So though I will say it can make a dust. Do not get perlite up your nose. You know how you don't want that. Think about, you know how you work with
It's not cocaine, people. It might be white, but it is not cocaine. Do not make that mistake. It will not get you out of here.
This is a mistake. Mistakes were being made. If you get the perlite up your nose, mistakes. You're gonna be very unhappy. Think about what would be a good example, working with insulation. Okay. You don't want that.
Respect.
So that would be my example. And I use that example because we all know insulation. Right? Right. This is water. There's nothing in it. It's just regular water. You pump it up and it's going to give us a mist. The reason I wanted to only have a mist is because this seed, you only want to plant it about 1 centimeter in. And so once you plant it, you don't want to pour water on it that is just moving all around. So what we're going to do is to pump up our mister. You can pre-pump it so you're not doing that. And oh, you got it? Look at you. So we're just going to put some soil in, and we want to get it wet. Not soaking wet. We want it moist. Okay. Moist.
Okay.
Just,
oh, go ahead. That
yes.
Was the signal.
Oh, yes. You can hold it like you can. There you go. So we just want it moist. You see the difference in the soil and the bark, of course.
So this is what I will do with my seeds when I get home.
Yeah, and if you want to use your paper towel method, you can, but understand it's going to be in there for about a minimum of 2 weeks.
Is this faster or about the same?
Soil?
What you doing now?
Putting a soil mixture together?
Yeah,
it's going to sit in there for a while. So,
right. So either way, I'm looking at a couple of weeks before it germinates.
It's going to take some time for it to germinate. It's not a quick process. The other thing I would say is once we finish this, you're going to want to put it in some type of closure. So if you have a big plastic, keep going. If you have a big plastic tub, then you can do that. Or if you have a like the totes, you understand what I'm talking about, the clear plastic totes? Yep. So you could either do a clear plastic tote, that should be enough. You can, no, that's enough soil, I mean. You can either do a clear plastic tote, or because we're only doing 1 seed today, you could also do a gallon plastic bag and just let it sit in there and close it up. Because once it's moist, it's got sufficient water to continue to generate on its own.
Okay.
So I'm going to put...
Plants don't need air.
Well, it's got air in the bag.
Oh.
There you go. That's enough. So I'm making a mess, and I am on my dining room table, and that is why so I'm just adding more perlite so we get a really
outdoor nose candy.
But yeah, I've got this tarp on my dining room table so that it's not filthy, and then I can easily just pick this up and clean it. Now this is ultimately the mixture that we want for in what?
A little dry.
What? Okay. This is the consistency of the mixture that we want for our soursop. Right?
And would this be its permanent housing, or is this?
Well, it's not going to. It's going to continue to grow.
Okay.
So you're going to leave it in this container, because this is a good size container. It can stay in here for probably at least 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
And then it will at some point be too big for this, and you'll have to go up the next size.
Yeah, my question is essentially, when I get to the point where it outgrows this, am I going to use this same solution for, I guess I would say an adolescent plant that I'm going to use for this little baby plant?
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to be consistent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And our mixture is damp, a little moist, but not soaking wet. So all that I'm going to do is take this container and put the mixture into it.
This is how the sausage is made.
Fact stuff.
Might want to have some help with this at home. You don't want to do this by yourself.
Why not?
I was just joking.
Now, I've got plenty of mixture left, and so that's the soil mixture just placed in a plastic container, and all I'm going to do is to take his seed and just put it right on top. And it wants to be 1 centimeter down. That's not deep. You're like literally putting it in there and then stop. That's probably more than 1 centimeter down. Mm-hmm. Oh Lord, it didn't fell in there.
Put it down 4 or 5 inches.
It's not 4 or 5 inches. Okay, let's try again. And if you don't feel like, oh, I don't know if I put it, which part is the pointy end that I should put down. If you're not sure, put it sideways. The root will still come out, it'll find its way, and the root will go down and the shoot will still come up, right? So don't stress it out. And see why I keep my nails done? Because dirt, child.
So question. So does a plant fail in nature if it lands like with the root side up? Because you're saying you want to plant the root side down where that little notch is. So I assume that's where the root comes out. You're saying if you're not sure which side it is, plant on its side. So what happens in nature when that notch is up?
It's going to do its own thing. It's going to go down. And it's going to come up. Humans, we think we're helping everything along.
Sure.
God got this. Okay. He knows what he's doing. So I like to grow my marigolds from seed. Mm-hmm. When I do that, marigolds, it looks like a little matchstick, like a tiny matchstick, mm-hmm. and ultimately, I'm just throwing it in the ground. When the little seed pod breaks open and it just falls around, ultimately it's being kicked up and it's going to do its best to get down in the soil on its own. So if we never helped, it would still be perfectly fine.
Awesome.
Right? Mm-hmm. So this is our goal for Soursop. Will this survive in our Zone 7B environment?
You mean outside?
Oh, outside, absolutely not. You put this outside, this is not going to grow for you, sis. I'm going to tell you, you cannot plant this outside. This is going to be an indoor plant for you.
So more dumb questions. If I have this in a pot and I have it inside all winter and most of the spring, when it gets hot outside in the summer, can I take it outside?
Yes, you can.
And can I leave it outside?
Yeah.
Okay. But during the frost, I got to bring it back in.
Yes, this plant will thrive in a warm tropical environment. And so I've said this to people who watch my channel before. House plants there's really not such thing as a house plant. These are tropical plants. Your home is a tropical environment, which is why it can survive in your house. But here in Maryland, your humidity in your house is probably at 30%. Mine usually is. So I have humidifiers throughout my house to up the humidity near my plants. If you're going to, as you try to germinate this, what you need to do now is to take this and either put it in a Ziploc, because it's just the one thing, you could probably put it in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag, mm-hmm. or you could take this and put it in one of those plastic tote containers, mm-hmm. or terrarium, or something else you mentioned to me. What was the other option?
Fish tank.
A fish tank. I do not know how that works. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, I've never used it for plants, but when I had lizards, snakes, stuff like that, they needed heat and they needed humidity, and that was very easy to create within a fish tank. Because the only place where moisture can escape is the top, and it's not necessarily its first option. So if you don't have like a draft blowing through there, then whatever heat you have bearing down in there, once you miss the tank a couple of times, you got high humidity and you have high heat because of the bulbs. So I imagine I will probably give that a shot with this. It's not exactly like a greenhouse because it's not sealed, but it will be very humid within that small environment and also be very warm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So That's an option for if any of you have not thought about that before. Here's the other thing that he's going to need, light. This is a Sansi light, and it's going to replicate sunlight. It's a regular screw at the back, so he could easily screw this into a lamp, and this could be the light that replicates his sunlight. He does not want to add any light though until he sees the green shoots come up. So until this is germinated and the plant is starting to produce, once it breaks through the soil, then it wants light. There are some plants that the seeds actually need light to germinate. Like one of the ones I mentioned earlier was mullein. Mullein is one you want to scatter on top of the soil and give it light because it needs access to sunlight to germinate. So in that way it's different. This one does not need, nor does it want that. So he's not going to actually need to add any light to it until he sees that first little green shoot breakthrough, and he'll see the husk of the seed on top. So it'll be brown, and then the green will be pushing up. It's very exciting, Justin.
It sounds exciting. I can't wait.
Oh, I'm excited too. So I would say this is pretty much good as it is. Take it and put it in its humid environment, and then you'll just have to wait. And don't get antsy, because I told you it could be like a month.
Okay.
So it could be up to 30 days before you will see something shoot through, but then once you do, you're going to want to add your light on top and start giving it the sunlight it needs. Because the other thing that I don't know what your house looks like, but I would say the interior of our houses are never getting as much light as plants need. And so people always like to say, oh, like that plant will take low light. Low light for humans is not the same as low light for plants.
I get it. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get a grow light. I think that's really important. I'm sure it's come a long way. When I had the terrariums, then you used a D3 bulb, at least for those animals, because it was something that would replicate sunlight as best as could, but that's sort of come a long way. That used to be a fluorescent bulb. So now that you can get that out of
it's fancy, right?
a screwing bulb.
And you know what? You can get it from Amazon.
I don't doubt it. It germinates, or let's say it shoots, and I now have to put light on here. How often should I water this? Because it needs more than just light, it needs water as well, correct?
It does need water. I would say when the soil starts to feel a little less damp, because remember it's a tropical area. I also am going to recommend Google as your friend here, because Soursop, I have absolutely no experience with it, but when I'm watching people talk about it, I guess it tastes like a sour apple candy. That sounds delicious.
You know, it doesn't look appealing. It's not something I'm interested in trying fruit-wise.
Everybody seemed to love it. I didn't hear any negatives about it. But it looks like a white with these dark brown seeds in it. I'm trying to think of anything we look like. It looked like a banana, maybe. Okay. Like a big fat banana.
Yeah, they're pretty, they're not attractive plants, which doesn't mean they're not tasty. I mean, but in terms of, you know, just the boyish good looks you expect out of fruit, doesn't have it.
The boyish good looks that we accept out of fruit.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when you talk about like an apple or a kiwi or something just looks tasty, it does not look appealing.
I think those things look tasty to us because we're used to them. Because somebody in a more tropical environment is probably walking by like, ooh, look at that Soursop, yes.
You know what? You might be 100% on to that.
Because I know people who don't like figs. I grew up eating figs, and I love figs.
I don't exactly know what a fig is. I thought it was a nut.
What? You don't know what a fig is?
Where do you grow up eating figs? Like, can you get
Texas? But you can grow figs here. I have a fig in my backyard.
Interesting. Yeah, the only thing I know about figs are fig Newtons. So it is like a what? Like something like an apricot or something like that?
It's smaller. It's a small, sweet fruit. And they grow on bush-like looking trees. They can get very large, like 15 feet wide. Mine, when we were growing up, we had a fig tree in our backyard, and I used to hang upside down in it. It was like my hiding place. And then we would take the figs off of it and make fig preserves.
Okay.
So all these people, like right now, just discovering figs, oh my gosh. We were on it, and we had the fig preserves. We was doing the thing we didn't know.
They just catching up.
They just, listen, because figs. So yeah, I love figs. And what was my other, my very favorite, which you can only get like at this time of year? Pomegranates. That's not a sexy looking fruit. Delicious though. Full of vitamin C and antioxidants. Is very good for you. They even started making something called palm. Now I'm not sure how much pomegranate is actually in palm, and I don't have no shout out to palm people. I don't know anything about your product, but pomegranate juice is delicious. Very, very sweet though.
Yeah, it's not a good looking fruit either, but it's better looking than a soursop. Nothing about a soursop.
Well, it is because it's green and it's green spiky, and then you open it up and on the inside it reminds me of a banana with gigantic black seeds.
Well, I'm definitely gonna try one because I do like sour stuff, so it sounds like something that'd be up my alley. It's just visually it doesn't give me that. I gotta try that kind of look at all.
Well, I would have to say, I think we're done today. I encourage you to try some, if you're going to do, not just soursop, but try some of the other plants like elderberry or echinacea, peppermint.
I think I'm going to try it. I might try a little bit of the mint.
Well, that's very easy to grow. It comes back every year, so it's a perennial here. What I would suggest to you is if you're going to grow mint, grow it in a container. Do not put it in the ground. Mint is a weed. Oh, like oregano. Like oregano's got a lot of benefits too. It's also perennial here. So I grow mint and oregano here, but I grow them in containers because if you put, oregano is also in the mint family. If you get it into the ground, it is a weed. It's going to grow everywhere. It's going to be in your neighbor's yard and your neighbor's neighbor's yard and your neighbor's 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 yard is going to continue to spread. It's going to be happy and destroy everything in its path and turn it into mint.
So tell me about this. Have you noticed anything with the mint as far as being repellent for mosquitoes, like the plant?
No.
Because it's supposed to be a natural mosquito repellent.
So I have heard that about some of the plants, that they're natural mosquito repellents, and I would say that that's probably true, the scent. I don't get hit by mosquitoes very often. So perhaps it is true because I have all my herbs like right here on my deck by my rocking chair, but the strong scent is a deterrent. So not just mint, but the citronella that people talk about a lot, that's an actual plant. So,
I didn't know that was a plant.
Yeah, citronella is an actual plant that is supposed to be a deterrent for mosquitoes. Rosemary, basil, all of the strongly scented things are supposed to repel mosquitoes.
Okay.
So, you walk by and you smell, like, oh, this smells amazing. It's supposed to repel mosquitoes. And I would say maybe, but you're gonna have to rub it on yourself, I think. It's not just, you're not usually gonna sit in a field of basil. So
this is
not, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but it's unlikely. Not impossible, just improbable.
Well, thank you very much. I feel very prepared. And we'll see how this goes.
I'm very excited. So I hope you'll give us the update.
Yeah. I'll see if I can come back in 6 weeks or something.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me and my guest Justin today on Vlogmas Day number 20. Bye.